This video is solving the slide. So I know some golfers have taken many lessons, and the thing that always shows up is they've got this sliding buckle where the knee gets to the outside of the foot, the hip gets way outside, and they kind of see, you know, this kind of diving down finish, and they hate it. Most golfers who I've worked with who have that pattern complain that's the number one thing that they want to get away from. And you'll see that I don't have a ton of videos on the slide because I believe that the slide is a complement to a certain release style. So if you're going to fix your slide, you've absolutely got to fix your release or you'll never get rid of the slide. The slide accompanies the flip or the trail arm going more into a kind of bending or flexing pattern on the way through, like this, where you can see that if I do that movement, that's going to move the bottom of the swing more away from the golf ball like this, and it doesn't have a whole lot of shaft rotation. So if I had shaft lean and hit it early, the club face would be pointing to the right. So in order to give myself more time to close the club face or more space to close the club face and to get the path going more out to the right, what I'll do is I will slide my body ahead, which moves the bottom of the swing forward, moves the path more out to the right, and gives me room to hopefully close the club face. We still kind of see more of a chunk or picking pattern with these slide flippers, but in my experience, you cannot fix the slide without fixing the release first, because if, let's say, I've got a stick here and I've set it up in place so that I can make sure that my body stays more behind, kind of like this. If I have that same release pattern, then the ball goes way off to the right. And you can see I'm gonna do my best to keep the same release. I'm giving myself a little bit more wiggle room. I'm gonna do my best to keep the same release, and I'm going to slide forward, and you see that I can get that to go pretty straight. Now, I wasn't able to do that with a whole lot of power, so what I'll do next is I will move this a little bit out of the way. I will slide forward, get that scoop release, and then really let that right side come through after the slide. Now I have a little knee issue, foot issue, so I'm going to turn my foot out to make that easier, but I'm going to slide, kind of jump, and you'll see I can hit it fairly solid. I have pretty high ball flight, comes up a little bit shorter. So now if I'm going to break that habit, if I'm going to get myself out of this slide, I'm going to have to change the release pattern, or else if I just stay centered, that club face is going to be open and I'm going to hit fat because the bottom swing is going to be behind and the club face hasn't rotated enough. So I need to get more of the white movement or the arms more across my body or back out in front of my chest, and I need to get more of that kind of trail arm cover, that palm strike or finger release feeling, where I get the handle out in front and kind of de-loft or cover. Now once I've got a good feeling of what to do with the release, then I'm welcome to use a stick as a slide kind of feedback tool, just to give myself some spatial awareness. And I'll show you two different ways that I like to use it. One would be putting it just outside. You don't want to put it outside the heel, you want to put it outside the edge of the midfoot. So basically, you're going to put it outside where the kind of the point of your pinky toe sticks out. So if the difference would be if I have my foot turned out like this and I get my knee over the center of my foot, I would still hit this stick if it was by my heel, but if it's in line with my midfoot, then I'm not going to hit the stick, so it serves as a better feedback. So I've got that in line with that midfoot, far enough behind me so that I would hit it with this, but not so far forward that I would hit it with my hands. Now, in order to solve it, I have to get more the white movement and those arms in front, so now I can stay behind and still get the bottom of the swing far enough out in front. Kind of like that. Pulled it a little bit to make sure that because I was making sure that I stayed way behind the stick. So option number one was on the outside of the knee, or outside of the foot. Option number 2 is on the inside. This is similar to the adductor merry-go-round, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some 9 to 3s, and I'm gonna feel like this left leg is going to stay closer to that stick. It's not going to stay up against it, so I'm not going to actually bring the thigh back. It's just to serve as a reference that I don't want to get my right leg sliding way over there. So I'm gonna, and what you'll find is you have to do shorter shots, because at some point this will get in the way and prevent me from getting to a full finish. So we're gonna do a little bit more of a 9 to 3 feeling, and I'm gonna feel, here we'll kind of exaggerate one, I'll get a little bit of tension. So kind of staying more in contact, and you'll see towards the end of that 9 to 3, my thigh did come up against it. So it's more for just kind of feeling that initial transition move, or all the way through until the end of kind of the arm extension. But then once the body rotates through, it's a little bit limiting. So you can play around with doing shorter shots with it on the inside, which I really like, or longer shots where you have the stick on the outside, just to give you a little bit more spatial awareness. But remember that the way that you're really going to solve your flip is by getting more of that wipe, or sorry, the way you're gonna fix your slide is by getting more of that wipe movement with the arms through the release.